Hello Inform Scotland followers and friends and enemies. Somebody was being rude about my videos this week, so if there's anybody who's sad enough to watch these boring videos just to be mean about them, welcome to you as well. This is a gorgeous day. I'm in a really good mood today and I really don't know why. There's no logical reason for it particularly, but I feel like things are starting to come together. I don't know about any of you. The data are just telling such a clear story now, and I think people are starting to twig. So I've just uploaded the latest stats update to the website. I seem to be doing these about weekly now. So the data for today are for the 16th of June to the 21st of June. And my cover image is this graph here, which I like quite a lot. It's the black line there is showing you the case numbers, cases in inverted commas, and what you can see is that they are reaching for the sky, and yet the blue and the red line and the yellow line, which are hospital occupancy, IT occupancy and deaths, are not responding. So we're finding a lot of cases which mean absolutely nothing. Going through the statistics, there's obviously quite a lot of data in the post. You can go and look. It's informscotland.uk and the section is called Graphs Daily ScotGov Data. We see on the very first graph, sorry it keeps slipping, you see on the very first graph this very extreme rise in cases. Now this is starting to look quite absurd, where it looks like, as I said in my last post, and I did wonder if I'd spoken too soon, but actually I think that I have not, this fourth wave, I'm going to call it, because as far as I'm concerned, these waves that we saw in the winter, that's wave 2, I call this wave 3, this is a vaccine wave. I call it the vaccine wave because the only thing that happened when this curve started to turn up was that we did a lot of vaccinations. And it is possible that there was also a change in testing. We know that they went to 2 genes instead of 3, and so I call this the vaccine wave, and it's the third wave. This is a fourth wave. Adam Finn, the brilliant epidemiologist who speaks a lot on the news, he is calling this the third wave. I'm calling it the fourth wave. This is a wave. Well done, Adam Finn. Good epidemiology there. So, of course, as we keep saying, I can't get that to go away. Nobody cares about cases because it all depends how many tests you're doing. What is important is positivity. If you look here at the second graph in my blog post today, you will see that we have a very significant rise in positivity as well. A third wave. So we're seeing more positive cases, which of course mean nothing, and we're also seeing a greater positivity percentage. Why would we be seeing higher positivity in the summertime for a coronavirus when we have so many people in the population vaccinated? Who knows? What could it be? Maybe we'll find out before the end of this very boring video. Graph 3 is a graph of the newly tested individuals, and you can see that we are now experiencing a steady rise here. That's newly tested individuals, people who have not been tested before. So they're not healthcare staff or care home residents. These are new people. A lot of them are volunteering themselves to be tested. Graph 4, this graph is interesting just for a few reasons. It's hospital occupancy and deaths. And you can see there that hospital occupancy is on the floor. It's the blue line, absolutely on the floor. It has been rising very slightly. And the green line shows you the number of delayed discharges that are in hospital. So we always have people in hospital who are delayed. They are there for no clinical reason. They just can't go home for whatever reason. Maybe they can't go into a care home because there isn't space for them. Or maybe they have a positive COVID test so they can't be released. Now, what happens then is they get stuck in hospital. But we have now 10 times as many people stuck in hospital for no clinical reason as we have patients in hospital with a positive COVID test. And it's likely that there will be some crossover in those two groups. So it is likely that people would be stuck in hospital if they have a positive COVID test. So they're forming some of that number there. But that gives you an idea of how big a problem COVID patients are in hospitals right now. And of course, this has been true for many weeks. Graph 5 is the graph on the cover image. I don't need to explain that to you again. This graph I made up at the start of the year. It is percentage positives by day of the week, because what we discovered was that certain days you were much more likely to get a positive than other days, like Mondays and Sundays were the peak days. Now, what we saw was that in the second wave, we had big variation day on day. So you can see there that, like in January, we had a difference of less than 10% positive to almost 15% positive in 1 week. And it was a fairly reproducible pattern. But what happened was, and I suspected at the time, I didn't really say anything about it, but as we were doing fewer and fewer community tests, the range of positive percentages by day of the week became much smaller and our positivity rate came down. Now, recently what's been happening is our positivity rate has gone up significantly. It is looking like it will reach this second wave level in the summertime. And it's also becoming much more spread out recently. Now, what do you think has happened recently? We've been doing a lot more community tests. These lighthouse labs seem to be producing very varied results depending on day of the week. This is something that we've been observing for some time, but as community tests are becoming more commonly done than NHS tests, we're seeing it even more now. And actually, I'm just going to jump to graph 11 so that I can show you that here. The blue spikes are community tests, and the red spikes are NHS tests. So what you can see is that we did very little NHS testing comparatively. These dates are, that's in September. But then as this year has progressed, we've kind of levelled off, and the NHS is doing quite a reproducible number of tests week by week. But the community tests went down. We saw a lower percentage positive, and now they're going back up. You can just see that there, that there's a kind of filling out week on week. There's a weekly pattern, but it's filling out as the weeks progress there. I've added 4 graphs just to show you what's happening regionally as well. So I'm going back the way now. So this is graph 7. It's Greater Glasgow and Clyde, Lanarkshire and Ayrshire and Arran positive tests. Now, the reason that I grouped these regions together is they are quite similar in population, but they're also very similar shaped curves, which we spotted back in the winter. So you can see here their peaks are matched. They even have matching bumps and lumps, which you can see like here and here. That was in waves 2 and 3. Wave 4 now has started simultaneously in all 3 of these areas. And Glasgow rose very high and is continuing to climb. And Lanarkshire and Ayrshire and Arran are just on a sort of steady march up the way. Again, synchronised. Quite odd. The next graph, graph 8, is Lothian, Tayside and Grampian. Again, you can see they were quite well synchronised in the second and third waves. This fourth wave now, look at that. Lothian has now gone as high as it did in January in the vaccine wave. And then Tayside has reached almost as high, and Grampian is continuing to climb now again. Now, back here, around this time, this is the orange curve is Grampian, we were talking about the surge in Murray. Murray is a part of Grampian. It's obviously a sub-region, but if there had been a surge in Murray, there must have been a drop in other areas of Grampian, because you can see the line's been completely flat. Now that we're actually climbing cases, I'm not hearing anything about a surge anywhere in Grampian. Very strange. The next graph that I've included, sorry, I just turned it off. The next graph that I'm including is Fife and Forth Valley, beautifully synchronised all through waves 2 and 3, And now they're climbing in synchronisation again, but not reaching as high as they did in the vaccine wave, like they are in other areas. And then borders, Dumfries and Galloway and Highland are also rising now subtly in sync. These areas are similar in population, so Borders and Dumfries and Galloway are obviously next to one another, but Highland is clearly not. And I just think it's absolutely fascinating how these areas all do the same thing all the time. Incredible. Graph 12. I have just made this graph up today because I was wanting to see why is positivity rising like this and we're changing our testing strategy. So the red jaggy line is the community lab test numbers. You can see it's all just been a big old mess since September. But here the blue line is percentage positive and it's on the left axis. Do you see there, as the number of community tests rise, so does the positive percentage rate? Going quite high now. The latest positive percentage value from today is 6.7%. Now, in the spring, we were down at less than 1%, and now we are at 6.7%. That's with a largely vaccinated population and it being summertime. Hospitalizations I've included. This graph is just becoming an absolute mess, to be honest. Hospital occupancy rather than hospitalizations. This graph's just becoming a big old mess. This is the Glasgow trace, the top one here. And you can see that they fell and then they went back up again and now they're kind of levelled off. And then the rest of the traces are just a big old mess. Any trace that's not in there is because there are fewer than 5 patients in the whole region. So the only regions that have more than 5 patients in total for the whole region are Lanarkshire, Greater Glasgow and Clyde, Grampian, Lothian, Ayrshire and Arran, Forth Valley, Tayside. And then Golden Jubilee National Hospital they finally started using for COVID patients, which seems like a great idea. Vaccinations are all quite complex. We have here, the red line is positive tests, and you can see that they have been rising very significantly as discussed. So this is just the vaccine waves. This is wave 3 and here's wave 4. And the yellow line is first doses of the vaccine and the green line is second doses of the vaccine. Now, if everybody was showing up for their vaccines and then showing up for their second doses, you would expect these lines to be largely parallel, but what you can see is that the green line is catching up to the yellow line. And this means that there is a faster rate of second dose uptake than there is first dose uptake. But if you look at this graph, which is the daily vaccines, so you've got the blue spikes are first doses and the red spikes are second doses, you'll see that both are kind of falling just now, but the blue spikes now are reasonably stable and the second doses are falling away. I think we have a problem with uptake now. The government has started producing statistics of vaccine wastage, but I'm not sure that I can believe that it's true because the numbers don't really seem to add up. I don't know how they're counting it. Maybe shouldn't say that I don't know if it's true. I don't understand the numbers, so I'm not going to bother reporting on that just now. That's something that we're actually going to talk about at our weekly Inform Scotland meeting tonight. And then finally, we've got the ONS Prevalence Survey. So you'll see that as you would expect, this is the vaccine wave here, we're seeing smaller and smaller and smaller prevalence, and then it did this big jump up 4 weeks ago and it's kind of stayed level at that level there. It's leveled off. Now, again, this is not matched with what we're seeing in community or NHS testing. So if you think about what that the positivity curve looked like, it's not level. So I don't really understand how the NHS, how the ONS prevalence is unmatched to such an extent to to the testing prevalence. So if we're doing lots and lots of asymptomatic testing now, you would have thought that would be reasonably representative of the community at large, but it's obviously not, because that's what the ONS is measuring. I don't really know what's going on. I'm going to pause. This video is now 15 minutes long, and God bless you for paying attention for so long, especially if you're not enjoying the video. Then really well done to you. What is the point of all this testing? What is the purpose of it? Are we trying to slow spread? Because we don't seem to be. Because last summer we didn't see anything like these levels. And now we're seeing positivity rates actually above epidemic level, apparently, the WHO epidemic level of 5%, which we've been well below for months now. And suddenly in the summertime, with all these vaccinated people, we are seeing positivity increase. Now, the number of people vaccinated, we're apparently approaching 4 million people in Scotland have received their first dose. We only have 5.5 million people in Scotland, and quite a lot of them are below the age that we're vaccinating. So really, my question is, why are we having all these cases? But also then, why do we care if they're not ending up in hospital, they're not getting sick? Does it matter? Does it matter if I'm positive for COVID right now? If I'm not sick, I'm not making people around me sick, and the hospital isn't being pressured? I don't know. You might have noticed, if you've been watching very closely, that we have a new article up on our front page of the website. You can go and look at it. It's not really an article, it's a list of questions for you to take in order to obtain in order to give informed consent for your vaccine. Go and have a look at it, share it with your friends. Obviously it's not an exhaustive list of questions, but this is just what we suggest you might need in order to give informed consent. I've also tried to put stuff up about us on the website, like who we are, and I can't work out how to add a new tag to the website, and we've been having some trouble with that. So I keep saying that I'm going to put people's faces on there, and I have. It's just that you won't be able to find them unless you're some sort of data genius, which I'm not. We also recently wrote a letter about Devi Sridhar's very upsetting video that was on Newsround, where she claimed that vaccines are 100% safe for children, which is absolute nonsense, of course. And we have reports coming in from the United States of hundreds of children suffering myocarditis after receiving their Pfizer vaccine. So we wrote a letter which has been circulated, and you'll see that shortly, because we'll get it out there to you soon. It's lovely to have spoken to you again. Thank you so much for your attention. Stay sane, stay strong, stay tuned, and remember, I love you.